Alright, back again with another video game review. This time it's going to be a little different. I'm going to be talking about two games at the same time, and that's Spider-Man 1 from Insomniac and Spider-Man 2. Just got around to actually playing Spider-Man 2 for the first time ever. I played through the whole game, platinumed it, and then I felt the inspiration to go back and replay the first Spider-Man game from Insomniac, play the remastered on PS5, played through it all again, and got the platinum again. The first time I platinumed the first Spider-Man game was back when it came out. I haven't played it since, and I'm glad I replayed it because it's a good contrast to the Spider-Man game that we just got, Spider-Man 2. I did not play Spider-Man 2 when it first dropped. I just didn't feel a big need to play it, which is weird because I love the first Spider-Man game. Absolutely loved it. It's a great game. Still is a great game. I went back, replayed it, like I said. It still holds up. It's still really good. So I don't know why I didn't jump into Spider-Man 2 immediately when it came out. I think I was just doing other things at the time. Working a lot. Other games were taking my attention. But after finally playing it, I'm walking away from Spider-Man 2 feeling that it is a great game, but not as great as the first Spider-Man game. I feel like that's the general consensus with these games, and I have to agree with it. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things about Spider-Man 2 that are vastly improved over the first game. I have to say the traversal in Spider-Man 2 is way better. And going back and replaying the first game, you could see how much slower it is in the first game, which it didn't feel like that when the game first came out. It felt awesome. But, after playing the new and improved Spider-Man, I miss the gliding. I miss the speed. You could traverse the whole city in Spider-Man 2 very easily. It's very fun. And, one thing I noticed while playing Spider-Man 2 is that I don't feel the need to fast travel anywhere in that game. I just like gliding and swinging in Spider-Man 2. It just feels so fluid. And in the first Spider-Man game, I kind of get tired of swinging around. I kind of get tired of how long it takes to traverse the map. And I end up using the fast travel more in the first Spider-Man game. So if we are to compare the two games, I feel like Spider-Man 2 definitely has the edge as far as gameplay goes and traversing over the first Spider-Man game. And yes, the actual combat is much better in the new Spider-Man game. And I really like how they integrate your gadgets. It's a little better than the gadget wheel you have in the first game. Because in the first game, I feel like I'm just using a couple gadgets over and over. Like I would use the web ball to web everybody, and then I would use the concussion blast to blast them against walls, and that would get rid of huge groups of enemies real quick in the first game. And I felt like I was just doing that a lot in the first game. In the Spider-Man 2 game, I feel like I'm using every gadget they have at my disposal in every combat scenario, and the combat just feels better in the second game. Traversing feels better. Gameplay overall just feels tighter, smoother. So yeah, that edge has to go to Spider-Man 2. Now, I feel that that's about all Spider-Man 2 does better than the first game, because these are narrative, third-person, action-adventure games. So gameplay is an important part, but also the story and characters are the most important part about these games. And I feel like Spider-Man 2 did drop the ball a little bit when it came to that. Especially after replaying the first Spider-Man game, I'm way more emotionally impacted by the death of Aunt May at the end of the first game. Spoilers. If you've played both of these games and you still don't know that Aunt May died in the first game, spoilers, she dies, and it's a very tear-jerking moment still. It's the second time I'm playing the game. I know it's coming, and it still got me to tear up. Nothing like that really happens in the Spider-Man 2. They try to do it with Harry, but it doesn't really hit the same. It's almost there, but there's something missing. And don't get me wrong, Harry Osborn was a great character in the game. I enjoyed him a lot. I actually liked him a little better than Peter Parker in Spider-Man 2. But what happens with him is not nearly as impactful as what happens with Doc Ock and Aunt May in the first game. You just feel totally devastated by the end of the first Spider-Man game. And in the Spider-Man 2, it's you're kind of fine with it, right? You're kind of fine with the ending. It didn't really upset me, and it didn't really move me either, the ending of Spider-Man 2. So in that respect, they did kind of drop the ball. And overall, I feel like the first Spider-Man game is a very well-paced game. I actually really like how you play the bulk of the game doing a lot of activities in the city. You're doing a lot of side missions. You're progressing the story. You're seeing the evolution of Doc Ock becoming an evil, person, being infected by, the mechanical arms, how he goes from a good guy to an evil guy. And I like that progression in the story. But I also like going through the city, doing all the side missions. And there's plentiful in the first game, almost too much. By the end of the game, I was getting tired by the amount of activities they were forcing me to do. Just to get the platinum, but that's kind of on me. That's me wanting to do everything and get the platinum. You definitely don't have to do everything in the first Spider-Man game to get the story, to get what's going on. But I feel like you will be more invested if you do everything. You will feel more of an impact if you do everything. As far as side missions go and stuff, you get all that done and then you do your main missions. And it flows a lot better. And by the third act of Spider-Man 1, you're just doing boss battle after boss battle until the end. And I love that ending. I love the last, 2-3 hours of the first Spider-Man game where you're just going boss to boss to boss, ending with Doc Ock. I love that. I feel like it's a great, climax because by that point in the game, you are maxed out. You have every ability. You have all your gadgets. You can't progress anymore. So it's just let's throw some bosses at you over and over. Go through his rogues gallery and cap off the game with his probably best villain, Doc Ock. I love it. I love the progression. And in the Spider-Man 2 sequel that we got, I feel like they really dropped the ball again, not only with the story, but the progression of the game. How the game starts with probably the best set piece in any of these games is when you're fighting Sandman. That set piece is just fantastic. You and Miles Morales fighting Sandman. It's just so good. I love it. It was a great way to kick off the game, but that great start puts the bar so high that when you start going through the game and you start fighting Kraven's goons, and it's all about Kraven the Hunter. It's Kraven the Hunter and his goons for damn near 15 to 20 hours. You're dealing with Kraven's hunters. And that's the game pretty much. And it was kind of a letdown because you start at such a high bar with Sandman and you're like, damn, are we going to get his biggest, villains? Are we going to do this with all his villains? It's going to be big set pieces for everybody, not just Sandman. Is Sandman coming back, But not really. You defeat Sandman in the first half hour of the game, you never see him again. That's it. He has a little side quest you have to do, and that's about it. You never see Sandman again. I feel like that's kind of disappointing. That could have been a reoccurring villain in the game, but that's really just it. There's a great set piece with the lizard. You chase lizard through the city. Gives me, Amazing Spider-Man vibes, that movie. It just gives me those kind of vibes. And the lizard fight was actually kind of fun. And once again, it kind of makes you feel disappointed a little bit because it's just wow, we could have did this with all Spider-Man's villains. But instead, we're kind of focusing on Kraven the Hunter and his goons. And I'm sorry, Kraven the Hunter is not interesting. They tried really hard. They gave him his own movie, flopped real bad. Nobody really liked it that much. And they pretty much gave him his own game here. You're just fighting Kraven the Hunter for the overwhelming majority of this game. You're going after Kraven the Hunter. And he's just not that interesting. You know what I'm saying? I was bored kind of to tears with this bad guy. And I was just like, God damn, can we get to the Venom stuff? Because that's what was really exciting me about, Spider-Man 2 was the fact that Venom's in the game and you get the black suit and you're going to see the Venom story and all that. And that's what I was looking forward to. I was not interested in Kraven the Hunter, and that might have been the biggest miscalculation Insomniac had making Spider-Man 2. I don't feel like they'll make that mistake again. Obviously, Spider-Man 2 sold well enough. They're going to make another one. I feel like they really know they have to nail whatever Spider-Man 3 is going to be. They have to fucking nail it at this point, They can't do another Kraven the Hunter, boring, villain. They got to, nail it. And the black suit story, we've seen it before in Spider-Man a bunch of times, and they do their own version of it in Spider-Man 2, and it's good. I like seeing Peter Parker become a dick, I think it's good. But once again, we've seen it before. It's nothing really new. If you've seen this story before, they're just doing the same thing, just with their own little spin on it. And I feel like the biggest spin that they do is making Harry Osborn Venom instead of Eddie Brock. And I was really hoping to get an Eddie Brock cameo and maybe at the end of the game, Eddie Brock gets infected by the Venom symbiote that's coming off of Harry Osborn. I feel like that would have been a good little Easter egg at the end. And I stayed through the credits. I didn't see that. So I don't know. I don't think they did that. You know what I'm saying? So maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. but not seeing Eddie Brock in the game get attached to the symbiote was kind of a disappointment. I was really looking forward to that, hoping to see that. You get to play as Venom, like actual Venom, not just Peter Parker, black suit Venom, but like you get to actually be Venom and like eat people's heads off and stuff in Spider-Man 2, and that was a great sequence. Spider-Man 2 definitely has some great sequences. Sandman fight, lizard chase, being Venom, biting people's head off, and the final Venom fight was pretty epic too, when he gets like the demon wings and stuff like that. Like all that stuff was really epic and cool. It was a great series of moments, but as a whole, I feel like Spider-Man 2 was definitely a letdown. As far as story and characters go, I feel like it was a letdown, and I'm glad the game wasn't much longer than what it was, because by the end of the game, I was really wanting it to end, and it did end. You know what I'm saying? The game, I feel, is 20 to 25 hours, like max. I feel like it is just 25 hours. That's how long it took me to platinum it and everything. Far less activities they swamp you with in Spider-Man 2, which can be seen as a plus. You do get through the game quicker, which I feel is a little bit of a plus. I don't like games to waste my time. Do like, a 20 to 25 hour game, and you could see and do everything and get your whole experience. I do like that. Spider-Man 2 definitely does that. It is shorter than the first Spider-Man game, which, once again, it can be seen as a negative. To me, not really. I feel like, tell your story, don't waste too much of my time, and, give me some cool, little side missions to do. The Mysterio fight, side missions that you did with Miles Morales and stuff. That was great, too. I really like Miles Morales as a character. Switching back between him and Peter Parker throughout the story was great. And having to do certain side missions with each character forced you to use each character, which I think worked out well for the game. It definitely, spiced it up a little bit. So, there's a lot of positives with Spider-Man 2. It's not a bad game. I did say at the beginning of this video, it is a great game. It's a lot of fun. You know what I'm saying? But as far as story and characters, it's not as strong as the first Spider-Man. And especially after replaying Spider-Man Remastered on PS5, which runs beautifully, 4K, 60 frames, all that good stuff. Runs great, looks great. I can't help but feel that the first Spider-Man game is better. And replaying it, you definitely get that Batman Arkham Asylum vibe from the first Spider-Man game. That what their inspiration is, and it's those games. And they really tried to remake that type of game, but with their own Insomniac, twist on it. And in Spider-Man 2, they definitely go more away from the Arkham style. It's becoming its own thing that Insomniac is making, and I think that's a good thing. They're evolving from the Arkham style of game and making something that's better as far as gameplay wise goes. And I do feel like, the gameplay is tighter in Spider-Man 2. But damn, do I like Spider-Man 1. I love being in the city. Even though the web traversal's not as good, I do love doing it. It really makes you feel like Spider-Man. A hell of a lot like, how Arkham Asylum made you feel like Batman. Those games made you Batman. These games make you Spider-Man. It's great. I love it. Will I ever go back and replay Spider-Man 2 like I have with the first Spider-Man game? Maybe sometime in the future. Maybe 5 years from now. When I forget the game a little bit, I'll go back and replay it. But then again, when I think about all the Kraven the Hunter stuff, it makes me not want to play the game again, because that stuff was just so tedious, so uninteresting. It just kept going and going. I really feel like the Kraven the Hunter character and his goons, that really could have been a DLC that they could have added to the game. They could have had an amazing game with just Spider-Man and the black symbiote suit and Harry Osborn. They could have did 20 to 25 hours of just that storyline, and maybe introducing Green Goblin, which they are really teasing the hell out of. 2 games in a row now, you're teasing Green Goblin like crazy. And I'm wondering, are we ever going to get Green Goblin? And I'm like, that's what they have to be saving for the third game. That's what they have to be going towards. There's no other choice, really. But I feel like you probably could have got to that quicker in this game. You could have did, the black suit symbiote, Harry Osborn becoming Venom, could have introduced Eddie Brock, you could have made Norman Osborn become the Green Goblin, you could have did all that in this game, and then for a DLC after the game, you could have did the Kraven the Hunter storyline, and gave us 5 hours of Kraven the Hunter as DLC. That's probably what they should have did for Spider-Man 2. I don't know what their obsession is with Kraven the Hunter, but he's just not that interesting. You know what I'm saying? I don't really care about this guy. And it dragged down the game a lot. But other than that, these are great games. Even the Miles Morales side game, spin-off game, is fantastic. And it's like a 15-hour tight experience. Highly recommend that game too. I played through that and also platinum that. A very good game. these Spider-Man games are great. But as far as comparisons go, there's no doubt the first Spider-Man game is much better than the second one. I just think that the consensus at this point, and I have to agree with it, especially after platinuming both games, like back to back. There's something about the first Spider-Man game that's just so good. There's something about it that just feels so good. And in Spider-Man 2, it just feels like we are struggling to get to the point. We're struggling to get through the story, which is not the case in the first Spider-Man game. You're enjoying every second of the story in the first Spider-Man game. And in Spider-Man 2, you're kind of struggling to get through that story. You're not as excited to get through it. Until the Venom stuff happens in like the third act. And then the game like really picks up. And you're like, all right, this Venom stuff is awesome. Like, why wasn't this the majority of the game? Is what all I was thinking by the end of the Spider-Man 2. I was like, why the fuck wasn't the Venom stuff like, 90% of the game? like why were we wasting so much time with Craven, I feel like that was the fatal flaw. But it's not as fatal as it seems because the first Spider-Man game sold so good. Miles Morales sold good. Spider-Man 2 sold good. They're going to make another Spider-Man game. They have a Wolverine game coming out. That could tie into the next Spider-Man game. By the way, Wolverine looks insane. That gameplay trailer looked insane. Well, I don't know if it was a gameplay, but more like cinematics. But no, there was some gameplay in there. So it looks insane. I can't wait to play Wolverine. I hope that somehow they tie it into the Spider-Man universe and we get, a big Marvel sprawling, video games. And hopefully they can do that with DC characters one day too. Because I would love to play, this style game for like Green Lantern or something like that. But you know that already. Channel name's Lantern2814, of course. But anyway, that's it for now. Spider-Man 1 Remastered, better than Spider-Man 2, but still both are great games. Highly recommend playing through all these Spider-Man games from Insomniac. Not just because Insomniac is like one of my favorite game studios, but the games are actually good. I'm saying? You have a lot of fun playing them, but you'll probably like the story in the first game more than the second game. And that's it for now. Comment below, let me know what you thought of Spider-Man 1 and 2. Which one's your favorite? I can only imagine there's going to be most people saying Spider-Man 1's their favorite. But if you love Spider-Man 2, tell us why you love it. It's a great game. I mean, it's still a great game. They're both great games. But I feel like Spider-Man 1 definitely edges it out. But that's it for now. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye for now.